We're just going to wait for like 1 more second or 2 more seconds while people get ready. All right. Good afternoon. I hope you had a good lunch. Welcome back to the Global Brazil Labs 2017 conference. We're trying a few technological innovations this afternoon. So we'll see if this works. We have a cross-linguistic conversation happening here. We have some guests clearly through Skype who I keep on wanting to point to the screen. No, you have to wave there, right there. Yeah, exactly. I know we want to wave at the screen and I keep on wanting to talk here, but the truth is I'm just going to train myself to speak to that poll. So welcome back. I hope you had a good lunch. And Eric, thank you so much for, I think we're trying to live stream this on Facebook. So we'll see how all this works. I have students here recording it just in case. So welcome to, and let me show you our PowerPoint really quickly. Welcome to Itaipu Post-2023. With an accent over the U, which we can talk about later, the next 50 years of sustainable development. My name is Christine Folch, and I'm a professor of cultural anthropology and environmental science and policy here at Duke. I'm also one of the co-directors of the Global Brazil Lab at the Franklin Humanities Institute. So this afternoon, we're continuing our conversation around nature. We started with politics. Obviously, these things merge with one another. We're here talking about nature, and then we'll be moving to art and culture to close our conference. We'll be building on themes that already began this morning with Dr. Blanco's presentation on Itaipu Hydroelectric Dam, which is the massive binational dam co-owned by Brazil and Paraguay. In 2023, the treaty that governs the world's largest dam expires. And this means that the energy pricing and electricity agreements are once again up for grabs. And this offers an unprecedented opportunity to foster development that's sustainable and equitable, or perhaps not. So this is sort of the question that raises our interest. We believe in the power of Itaipu renewable energy to transform Paraguay, Brazil, and indeed the region. And that's what we're going to be arguing this afternoon. To kickstart the conversation, we'll be hearing from Duke researchers today, as well as scholarly partners at the Universidad Nacional de Asunción, the National University of Asunción, about this dam. And so I want to go back to the Skype really quickly to introduce our key partners. Okay, so here on our right is Dr. Gerardo Blanco and Dr. Victorio Oxilia. They're both faculty at the Polytechnic University, National University, and members of GISE, which is the research group on energy systems. GISE is in Spanish. So Dr. Blanco and Dr. Oxilia are energy experts, and we're thrilled that they'll be part of our conversation today. Y no sé si vamos a hablar en castellano o en inglés. ¿Qué prefieren ustedes? ¿Me pueden escuchar? Okay. Okay, entonces, okay. So we're a sort of multilingual community here. So, ¿lo que prefieren ustedes? Está bien, o inglés, o castellano, o portugués, o portuñol. Con un poquito de guaraní, So, pero tenemos...
I think we prefer Guarani, Christine.
So, my guess is that English is going to be the common denominator, given that we've got grad students, undergrads, people who smelled the Mexican food and just came in. Entonces, creo que inglés sería, inglés o traducir de castellano a inglés sería ideal. So this is part of the fun of the research that we get to do. Es un gusto tenerles acá. And they'll be speaking a bit more later. So I'm just going to start. Ahora empiezo el PowerPoint. So today we have a chance to talk about what is arguably one of the most, if not the most important energy renegotiation in the early 21st century. And to hear a little bit about what we're doing about it here at Duke. So this is a map of the dam, or a picture of the dam. These guys are on the Brazilian side. Let's move them to the Paraguayan side. There we go. Our research team is developing strategies. Our Duke research team, along with partners elsewhere, is developing research strategies to steer sustainable development in Paraguay as well as Brazil, using the dam and the opportunities opened up by the 2023 negotiation as leverage. To that end, what we're doing is we're going to provide the Paraguayan public, government, and energy stakeholders with a two-pronged pragmatic policy brief that addresses two issues. One is renegotiation suggestions and strategies for the dam itself, but the real heart of it is recommendations for hydroelectric sector-led sustainable development. And so today what we're going to hear is the beginning of that policy brief. We're going to hear some of the sort of the first draft of some of the questions and the ideas. And so to do so, I'd like to actually turn it over to Odette, who will be speaking about amazing things that she knows about. So thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Yep.
Well, my name is Odette Rouvet. I'm a graduate student. I'm an M.I.D.P fellow. My interest is on governance and environmental policy. I've worked before on water and energy, so being Mexican, I'm very interested in the region. In Latin America.
No, I think you have to just push the...
though I'm interested in Latin America completely, and being this a project in Latin America and in energy, I really got the interest and the opportunity to work with Christine in this project. So just a first glimpse of Paraguay and some national data, some GDP. Paraguay has 27 million billion GDP in 2015. Just for a context, Brazil has 1.7 trillion, and the Latin American average is 5.2 trillion, so it's a smaller GDP compared to other Latin American countries. For example, we can see that the GNI per capita for Paraguay is 4,190 for Paraguay, and in Latin America it's 8,900. So it's quite a difference with the rest of Latin American countries. Brazil is even above the Latin American GNI per capita with 9,800, and we can see other data here.
What's GNI?
Gross national income.
Oh, okay.
So I'm interested in governance, so I'm just going to provide you a very easy first picture of Paraguay, just to provide some context on where should we be addressing some first problems. So I'm using here some World Bank indicators, the worldwide governance indicators, which measures 6 different dimensions. I'm just putting here 4 of them. It's all about perceptions in the country, so they go to the country, do surveys, do a lot of questions with experts as well, pick up some glimpse of how is the country doing. So in terms of government effectiveness, it's very interesting to see that Paraguay is ranking, it's a rank from 1 to 100, and obviously if you're up in the rank, you're doing better. We can see that Paraguay is 17 and Brazil is 47, so that's quite a difference in the countries. We have a comparative perspective in Grupo, and the most appealing thing here, for example, is difference in control of corruption. So Paraguay is not having a good control of corruption here in terms of Brazil, for example. We have a very, which we've heard during the day, there is endemic corruption and it's very hard to tackle. We have another very interesting index that is also published by the World Bank, which is called Ease of Doing Business, which also has different dimensions, 10 different mini indicators within this overall rank. It's Paraguay is ranking 106, while Brazil is ranking 123. There's not such a difference in the overall rank. But then when we go to getting electricity, which is one of the main constraints or challenges for private companies to get into a business in the country, we can see that Paraguay is ranking pretty low in 102. Out of the 190 countries that are measured in this index, compared to the 47 of Brazil. So that's quite a difference, and it's quite interesting to see that we have Itaipú, big provider of electricity, and private companies cannot get electricity to flourish. We have other getting credit, they are ranking in the same level. But for example, protecting minority investors, they're ranking quite low. Paraguay is ranking quite low compared to Brazil. So there's definitely some interesting issues here to address. So after seeing the governance indicators and knowing more about this history and the context of the country, we can see that there are some key pressing issues in terms of governance that we need to address. Clientelism and elite capture of rents, of all the economic activities that are happening in the country, corruption. We have poverty and inequality throughout the country. And this, that we could see an ease of doing business about country attractiveness and competitiveness. Paraguay is not really an attractive country for private investment, and this is also undermining the potential for economic growth in the country. And well, why are we interested in seeing these governance indicators and later in addressing more in-depth governance issues? Because Itaipú needs resources, so resources are managed by the government, and we need to make better governance of these public resources. Then some some first opportunities to move Paraguay forward that we could analyze from the governance perspective and knowing all the historical context of the country. Better governance, increased transparency, increased accountability, get better at government effectiveness, which was one of the indicators from the worldwide that they weren't ranking well. Then make more attractive the country for the private sector, get better at improving the barriers and the challenges for private sector that they install their companies. Why? Because, well, let's remember that Paraguay is the second and eighth largest exporter of soy and beef, respectively. So this will eventually, if we address this attractiveness for private sector, this has the potential to improve economic growth and development. And this is connected with the beef and soy, generating more processing and refrigeration of beef. Now I'll move to the second part. See if I can get out of here.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Olivia Sanchez. I'm a senior here at Duke, double majoring in International Comparative Studies and Spanish. I work as a research assistant with Dr. Folch, and I'm excited to be here today to talk to you guys a little bit about this exciting project. So first, just to give you a little bit of information about energy data in Paraguay. So there are three main sources of electricity in Paraguay. First, Itaipu, which is co-owned by Brazil and Paraguay. Odette, co-owned between Argentina and Paraguay, and Acaraú, which is solely owned by Paraguay. In terms of Itaipu generates 86% of the energy consumed in Paraguay. It has an installed capacity of 7,000 megawatts and is set to expire in 2023. Odette, also set to expire in 2023, generates 11% of the energy consumed and has 900 megawatts installed capacity. Acaraú, which generates 3% of the energy consumed, has an installed capacity of 210 megawatts. In terms of Itaipu, what we talked about, this is incredibly important because it has a $4 billion of energy sales per year, 93% of which are being purchased by Brazil and 7 of which are being purchased by Paraguay. Roughly 63% of those $4 billion are going to pay off the debt, which we'll get into a little bit later. So next, in terms of electricity consumption in Paraguay, here we have a nice pie chart that kind of breaks it down a little bit for you. 41% of this electricity is going to residential, then we have 18% roughly going to commercial, around 26% going to industrial, and 14% to other. And what we're going to see in these next couple of years is how this kind of shifts depending on what happens with this treaty renegotiation. Here we have the annual energy production as produced by Itaipu. This is in gigawatt hours. So here you can see that in 2009, 2011, 2012, and 2013, Itaipu broke world records. Although 2016 is not shown here on this graph, in 2016 Itaipu produced more than 100,000 gigawatt hours, which is incredible. That just goes to show how efficient this dam is. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about why the need for renegotiation. As was mentioned, this treaty expires in 2023, so this is going to happen regardless. That's why this is so important that both sides are adequately prepared, and this is why we're working on this project right now. Next, this creates new economic and environmental opportunities for Paraguay. So as was mentioned, in 2023, the debt will be fully paid off. That means that 63% of those $4 billion can now go to other opportunities. Those resources can now be reallocated. What that means is Paraguay can reinvest in social opportunities and infrastructure, whatever it may be. For example, in 2012, Paraguay could have been paid around $37,000 per gigawatt hour, but actually received about $14,000 per gigawatt hour. This results in about $780 million loss in 2012 alone. Additionally, the situation can be categorized as a monopsony. This is the opposite of a monopoly. What that means is that Brazil is the one big buyer. So in 2023, when this treaty is up for renegotiation, although Paraguay is hoping to receive a higher price for the energy that they're selling, it is quite possible that Brazil could dictate a lower price or could decide not to buy energy from Paraguay at all. Additionally, Itaipu is not eternal. What this means is that at best, Itaipu has another 100 years. Although people often think that renewable energy is forever, that's just not the case. A lot of times the dams will silt up and you have to look to other resources. So what this means is that Paraguay needs to start looking to other forms of sustainable energy generation. This also ties into the national project on energy politics. So what that means is Paraguay is looking to other methods in hopes of minimizing outside dependence and promoting national production. Here you can see we have Itaipu, Yacyretá, and Acarada, which are the three main sources of electricity. So looking at Itaipu now and later. As of now, Paraguay is more of a passive observer. As I mentioned, because of the monopsony style of this situation, Paraguay isn't able to call as many of the shots as they're hoping. Additionally, they're using only 13% of their 50% of the energy. So when this treaty was drafted, they agreed that each country would receive 50% of the energy. Paraguay is only using 13% of their 50%. But by 2023, it is projected that they will be using 56%. So we would like to be part of this treaty and seeing how we can make that possible.
Thank you. So we've just tossed out a lot of numbers at you. And what I want to do is I want to summarize them and then move into hearing a bit from our partners on the ground. So some big things to know. This dam produces 20% of Brazil's electricity, which is about 1/3 of the state of California, or 1/4 of Texas. It's the world's largest dam. It has the ability to power Brazil's industrialization. Paraguay only uses a small portion of it and sells most of its half to Brazil. All of these pricing and energy distribution agreements are up for grabs in 2023. This offers a really interesting puzzle and a really interesting opportunity to enter a conversation. So that's the main story that we want you to sort of have in terms of background here, keeping in mind what we already heard this morning as we thought about the construction of the dam. What we'd like to do now is we'd like to actually turn to some research partners in Paraguay to hear a little bit more about the opportunities and challenges that people within Paraguay perceive in this energy context. And so I've got a little bit of information here on the board so that you know a little bit about who it is that we're speaking with, and if you want to tweet at them, you can tweet at them, and I guess you can Facebook like them, and who knows. But so let's now turn to, actually let me step back and just say really quickly, one of the large values of the Global Brazil Lab is not just to talk about South America, but to actually listen well. And this is an opportunity that we have the ability here to listen to scholars on the ground and to learn from their perspectives, and so we're quite excited to be doing this. This is also the part of the Global Brazil Lab that's global. That's not just Brazil, it's how Brazil articulates to and helps us think about regions in the world. All right. Queremos escuchar algo de GISE y sus opiniones sobre Itaipú y las posibilidades de renegociación, etc. Pero entonces primero el trabajo de GISE. So first the work of this research group.
Okay, thank you, Christine. I will practice speaking Spanglish. Hopefully you are going to be able to understand me. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank Christine and her research group for the invitation to take part of this conference, which actually is very, very interesting for us. Here in Asunción, in the National University of Asunción, the GISE, which is the research group in energy system, Grupo de Investigación en Sistemas Energéticos in Spanish, we are mainly focused on three let's say, research lines, which are energy strategies, energy policies, and energy planning. In this context, the issue of Itaipú is obviously a cornerstone in our work. And in this context, we have started 6 years ago a project, a macro project, which we call Paraguay 2023, One Vision of Development. in Spanish, Paraguay 2023, una visión para el desarrollo, and una is always also the name of the university, and then we try to, let's say, to propose some guidelines to set a roadmap for the country in order to face the future negotiation between Paraguay and Brazil in 2023, which we've seen that it's going to be a tipping point for the country. In this sense, we are developing here several research projects with the support of the research agency here in Paraguay. Most of them are related to this topic. For instance, now we are trying to publish some results on one of the projects. Basically, try to define, to say which is the best strategy for the use of the electricity surplus that the country has. But based on multi-criteria analysis that is trying to take into account not only the technical part, the technical aspect of the economic, but also we are trying to include some social, environmental, and even political aspects which actually are shaping more or less the decisions which are made by our governments. And of course, Itaipu is a crucial topic for us, and we strongly believe that Itaipu and the negotiation in 2023 are going to determine the future of our country. I would like to give the floor to Dr. Victorio Oxilia, and he's going to talk a little bit deeper about Itaipu.
Okay, thank you, Gerardo. Thank you, Christine Folch, for your invitation to participate in this conference. And thank you, Odette and Olivia, for your excellent presentations about the topic Itaipu. We think with Gerardo that this kind of, we can develop some kind of cooperation between your group, Christine, in Durham, and we in Paraguay, and also the group in Brazil, the University of Sao Paulo, in order to analyze or to improve to expand our vision about the issue Itaipu. Let me to continue in Spanish. I think you can understand also Spanish. It's okay for you?
Sí. Does anyone need
Sí.
translation?
Y podemos traducir también o así manejar los dos idiomas.
Can somebody, if there's just one or two I'm just going to interrupt. Is anyone, it seems like there's just one or two people who need translation. Can you sit next to someone and whisper? Because that'll probably...
So if you speak Spanish and you're willing to translate, raise your hand. Okay, go sit next to those people.
So who needs a translator?
Just go do it.
Okay.
Pero entonces, por favor, anda.
Oh, this is just to feel more comfortable.
Está bien. Entonces, anda, por favor. Sí.
Anyway, nosotros pensamos que el caso de Itaipú es un caso altamente complejo, ¿no? Porque no se puede ver solamente, como lo dijo ya el doctor Gerardo Blanco, no se puede ver solamente el aspecto técnico, energético, que es central desde luego en lo que se refiere a Itaipú, sino otros aspectos, ¿no?, que complejizan la situación, ¿no? Hay cuestiones relacionadas con las relaciones internacionales, es decir, las negociaciones propiamente dichas, que son históricas, ¿no? Hay prácticamente cerca de 50 años de negociaciones desde el Acta de Foz de Iguazú, que fue previo al Tratado de 1973. Hay aspectos que son políticos, ¿no? En el sentido de que hay que considerar que Itaipú y la energía eléctrica es como para el Paraguay, así como el petróleo está para Venezuela. Entonces, es un tema político central desde el punto de vista interno de Paraguay, principalmente en Paraguay, no tanto en Brasil. Hay aspectos muy importantes que tienen que ver con la distribución de los beneficios o de los excedentes económicos y financieros que provienen de Itaipu Binational y de su producción de energía. Y de eso ya fue mencionado por Olivia en su presentación cuando hablaba de los 4 billones o 4.000 billones de dólares, que es la facturación de Itaipu, son los ingresos anuales y cómo se distribuían esos ingresos, y veíamos que gran parte de esos ingresos iban al pago de la deuda de Itaipu. La distribución de esos beneficios económicos, de los ingresos, es una cuestión central, ¿no? El Itaipú genera energía, pero genera principalmente valor, ¿no? Y ese valor tiene de alguna manera que ser distribuido entre los dos países, y dentro de cada país ver también cuál es esa distribución interna, puesto que eso tiene un impacto social muy importante, ¿no? Y que se relaciona con el proyecto que ustedes tienen de cómo entonces ese valor económico que se genera se puede transformar en desarrollo, ¿no? Se puede transformar en industrialización, se puede transformar en bienestar para la población. Hay otros aspectos que tienen que ver con el medio ambiente, es decir, con el environment, ¿no? Entonces son aspectos que no pueden ser dejados de lado, ¿no? Es el río Paraná, sobre el cual está construida la usina, la central y la represa, el Itaipu Dam, ¿no? Es un río muy importante desde el punto de vista de ecosistema, ¿no? En lo que se refiere a la vida de peces, a la vegetación, a bosques, ¿no? Entonces hay cuestiones ambientales también que son muy importantes. Hay cuestiones que tienen que ver con el tratamiento mediático, es decir, la media, es decir, cómo trata el asunto principalmente en Paraguay, no tanto en Brasil, pero principalmente en Paraguay, como un tema central en la agenda política prácticamente todos los días, ¿no? Hay aspectos que tienen que ver con lo que mencionaba el doctor Blanco, referente a energía y desarrollo. Es decir, cuál va a ser la mejor manera, ¿no?, de utilizar la energía para el desarrollo de la población, para el desarrollo del país. Paraguay, como lo demostró ya antes Odette, es un país con un GDP muy bajo comparativamente con otros países de la región, y es un país donde la industria es bastante incipiente. Entonces, y la industria para realizarse necesita energía. Entonces, tenemos ese surplus de energía que podemos utilizar para apalancar, es decir, para ir hacia adelante con relación a la industrialización. Entonces, todos esos aspectos, ¿no?, hacen una complejidad de situación, ¿no?, que debemos nosotros estudiar, así de manera particular en cada uno de esos aspectos, pero sin perder la visión de conjunto, puesto que finalmente un aspecto está relacionado con los demás. Uno de los proyectos que estamos llevando adelante con financiamiento del ONCIP, es decir, del Consejo Nacional de Ciencia y Tecnología, es un proyecto que busca recoger y sistematizar las lecciones que han sido aprendidas en estos últimos 50 años de negociación. Evidentemente, hay muchos aspectos, ¿no?, que vamos a perder, puesto que en 50 años de negociación hay mucha gente que bueno, ya no está más, ¿no?, de los primeros negociadores, pero vamos a intentar, they pass away, no, sorry, pero a los sabios y más viejitos, ¿no?, de oldest ones, tratando rescatar y sistematizar la experiencia, las buenas prácticas que se han dado, ¿no? Porque finalmente Itaipú, a pesar de todas las dificultades que ha enfrentado históricamente en las negociaciones, en los encuentros bilaterales entre Brasil y Paraguay, ¿no? A pesar de todo eso, tiene que ser considerado una historia de éxito, ¿no? Con dificultades, sí, pero una historia de éxito, con sombras, evidentemente, con zonas grises, pero principalmente con beneficios para los dos países, ¿no? Entonces no hay que perder tampoco esa perspectiva, ¿no? De Itaipú como algo beneficioso, pero con dificultades. Bueno, no quiero robar más tiempo, ¿no? Tenemos 10 minutos entre ambos, ¿no? We think that it's very important to share our thoughts, our ideas, but also it's very important to listen which kind of ideas you have about what we are saying, and also your feedback about our presentation. Thank you very much again, Christine and your team in Durham, and thank you again, Odette and Olivia, for your presentation. It's really we are very happy to listen and to see some figures about Paraguay at the Duke University. Oh, thank you very much.
So I think what we're going to do now is we're just going to open this to a little bit of conversation back and forth. I also want to give you just a little bit of a heads up. So Odette and I are actually going to go down to Paraguay in a couple of weeks to meet with GISE, and we're actually going to be bringing both Dr. Blanco, and speaking in English and Spanish in my head, and Dr. Oxilia up here to Duke in late April to workshop some of these questions together. I think una cosa es que ¿pueden ustedes decirnos algo de su preparación? Entonces, como yo sé que ustedes son ingenieros, entonces un poquitito de su preparación sería, nice.
Christine.
Entonces no son antropólogos, por ejemplo, como yo.
No. I have an electromechanical engineering degree here in Asunción, and I have done my PhD in Argentina and Germany. In Argentina, in the National University of Sanford, which is very next to the Andes mountains, and in Germany I was studying in Dortmund. It's located more or less in the northwest.
Okay. Thank you, Gerardo. And Victoria, I am actually a son of the University of São Paulo, Brazil. I got my Bachelor of Science in Physics in this university. Also a master in Social History of Science, also at the University of São Paulo, and a PhD in Energy, also in the University of São Paulo. Gerardo and I, we work at the GISE, at the Technical School of the National University of Asunción. He is the leader of the GISE, of the group, and I am in charge of the Department of Graduate Program and Research.
Gracias, thank you. Awesome. I just wanted to give a little bit of context to that. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes for some clarifying questions, and we'd love to hear what you'd like to say.
We also
Eric.
asked to request a microphone so that it's heard clearly through Skype and also through live stream. Thank you.
Great. Can we get somebody to be this? Oh, you have one? Oh, lovely. Sorry.
Thank you. I wanted to.
Sorry. No, sorry. Yeah, go.
Oh, I just wanted to ask. The one thing I didn't hear discussed was the question of the political complexions and dynamics in the two countries and how that is likely to affect things. I was thinking about the question of Lula and Evo's government and the clashes over the nationalization of Petrobras. And so I just do the sort of politics I know is not something one can control for. But on the other hand, I imagine it must be a factor in how you're thinking about this project in terms of, the future.
So we're just going to take questions for a bit and then answer them.
So my question is backing up to your very first slide. So you say you want to create sustainable development in the future. I'm wondering exactly what you mean by that. I also want to know if you're doing this for Paraguay and you're trying to get sustainable development there, there's always a trade-off. So what's the trade-off? Who's going to be having the bad effects of a better deal being done in Paraguay? Is there going to be, do you foresee any kind of negative impacts in Brazil or anywhere else because of it?
Yep.
Thank you to everyone for this presentation. I guess my question is, and also kind of a point of clarification for how your approach is going forward, is how you're thinking an ideal terms for a renegotiated price is going to be, right? Because what was so polemical and what I didn't hear mentioned in the talk was that the Treaty of 1973 said this is the treaty that will exist for 50 years and the price is set for 50 years, right? And just to put that in context, to say Paraguay has to sell its energy to Brazil at this price that cannot change for 50 years. No accounting for inflation. No change in what the larger market price is for energy in the region. So when 2023 happens and the treaty is going to be renegotiated, on what basis would an ideal starting point be for thinking through what the price is going to be and what are the mechanisms that should be in place for figuring out how a non-fixed price would adapt to the needs of both countries?
Any other questions people want to throw out there? Any other questions? Ellen?
I was just wondering if in the renegotiation of the treaty, if Argentina is going to be involved at all, if it's really close to the tri-border. So good.
Okay, well, let me jump into some of these questions, and then I'll let other people also sort of speak up. I think I want to take Bill's questions around sustainable development and the trade-offs are actually central questions in our project, because Paraguay is a smaller country. It's the smaller country in this balance, right? It's the size of France, so it's not very big. Or France likes to think it's really big, but and Brazil is actually larger than the geographic United States. There are all the
continental United States.
Beg your pardon, continental United States. That is exactly what I meant to say, except something else came out of my mouth. As Odette mentioned, there are some real differences in scale in terms of economy between these two. Paraguay is also landlocked, and this impacts how electricity and politics work. We didn't even get to not even just the price fixing, but actually the the path dependency created by infrastructure and by by the way that the electricity itself is generated, which is also a factor here. So the first question or the first challenge is that since this is a negotiation and Paraguay doesn't necessarily have much more than moral suasion in order to convince Brazil, we actually need to think of a discourse and ideas that are win-wins on both sides. So as opposed to having an antagonistic renegotiation, this actually needs to be something much more, it needs to take into account who the interlocutors are going to be in Brazil. And we do need to game theory out a bit of what's going on in Brazil's political context. That is actually one of the questions, and that's part of what makes this such an interesting puzzle. But because we need to figure out a win-win, that means that we have to think creatively about the solutions. So a little bit to the point of what are the trade-offs? Well, these are the hard challenges. I mean, to up the question of the trade-off and then to get to a bit of the treaty that Jake mentioned. So in 1973, this treaty sets the price, it sets a formula for the price. The price has actually gone up over time, in part because there is actually a mechanism in one of the appendices to actually adjust for, because Itaipu is actually financed and budgeted with the US dollar as a neutral currency. And so there is actually a formula that accounts for changes in the price of the dollar. So the price is not exactly the same as when they first started selling electricity in 1985, but it gets sort of reset every year. It is significant, the price for the electricity is significantly below the market rate. This is why the dam is so attractive. It sells electricity at about $42 per megawatt hour to both electricity companies, Paraguay's and Brazil's. And I'm not really sure what happens in Paraguay, maybe nobody knows. But in Brazil, what happens is this sort of gets distributed and it gets priced around like $80, $90, $100 per megawatt hour. Some of that cost goes to transmission. The company Eletrobras is now a private-public company, so this is to the benefit of private shareholders. So there's a lot of, and who also knows what's happening in Brazil? That's the huge question for today. So there's just complexity in this way, but part of the challenge is that who has the demand to actually buy this electricity? And while in Paraguay people like to say Argentina is an option, perhaps, Argentina and Paraguay co-own Jacereta, and Jacereta also is up for grabs in 2023, because it was signed just a few months after Brazil's treaty with Paraguay was signed. And this is part of what makes this dam so interesting. It actually will have implications on how Paraguay treats with its neighbor as well. Those are just a few things. Yo no sé si ustedes quieren así decir algo y después tenemos que terminar un poco, pero si quieren añadir algo ustedes.
Yes, Christine, thank you. We think that it's very important to analyze very well which is the meaning of the price in Itaipú, or how the Annex C, the Annex C of the treaty, which is related to the commercialization aspects, the definition of the price. The price of Itaipú is defined by the expenses. That means that the current rule is that the price must cover all the expenses. And which are the expenses today? About 20% of all the expenses are related to the production cost. Other 20% is related to the royalties, which is shared between Paraguay and Brazil. And about 60% is related to the debt, to the repayment of the debt. What was presented by Olivia today. So, what will happen in 2023? 60% of the expenses will disappear because the debt will be paid by 2023. And what that means to the price of Itaipú following the current rules or the current treaty, the current Annex C of the treaty. Okay? That means that the price must be lower than the prices today. But that is no good for Paraguay, because our idea in terms of the price is to maintain the current level of price, and the 60% of the value, the total amount, we can share between the two countries, like royalties, for instance. And related to the about 20 US dollar per megawatt hour, which is the compensation that Paraguay received for selling the energy to Brazil, is an additional cost. Okay, it's additional cost. Is just for the energy, which is related to the Paraguayan energy, which is transferred or it's sold to Brazil. Okay. So I think we can discuss more about more details about the price of Itaipu, but this issue we think it's very, very important to understand and to analyze for the negotiation. I don't know if it is clear.
And also, Christine, I think it's important to analyze as a, let's say, baseline assessment or a background maybe, the most recent negotiation about these topics, which happened in 2009 between the Presidents Lula and the President Lugo in Paraguay, when the compensation cost, which has been mentioned recently by Dr. Oxilia, was multiplied by 3. We have done at that time a paper analyzing with some tool of case theory the negotiation process, and we have identified some kind of difficulties in cooperation. And actually, the result of the negotiation process evolved very similarly to a dilemma prisoner problem. Yes, where the final result of the negotiation, actually the Nash equilibrium, was not a optimum point. That means that obviously can appear throughout the negotiation process some trade-off about the interests of the country, which we think that are very interesting to analyze ex ante view point of view.
Okay. Hello. Okay, sorry, here we are. Well, we are a little bit past our time, but there's coffee for you all, don't worry. I wanted to first say thank you to our Paraguayan guests, and thank you to the Duke research team. Thank you for joining us. Gracias por estar con nosotros. If you have more questions, we're available to chat during the coffee hour, or coffee 25-minute hour. And I lied, it's 10 minutes. See, this is what I do to you. And so yes, we'll be back here in 10 minutes. Thank you so very much. Ciao.